Most of us tend to think of a business like a machine, right? You've got departments that are like cogs and gears all fitting together. But what if that's not the whole story? What if a business is actually much more like a living, breathing organism? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
I mean, seriously, think about it. When you look at some huge, sprawling company, it just seems impossibly complex. How in the world does it all hang together? How does it manage to adapt and grow? Or sometimes, why does it fail?
So here's the big idea. We've got to shift our whole perspective. Forget that rigid org chart you see on the wall. We're going to start seeing a business for what it really is, a dynamic, breathing network of interconnected parts, all striving towards a common goal.
Okay, let's dive right in. So where does this idea even come from? Well, it's rooted in a concept called general systems theory, which turns out to be a super powerful lens for understanding all kinds of complex things. And what's wild is that this whole concept came from a biologist, Ludwig von Bertalanffy, way back in the 1950s. His insight was pretty mind-blowing. He realized that the very same core principles are at work in all kinds of systems, from a tiny living cell to an entire galaxy, and yep, even a company.
So this right here, this is like the universal blueprint for any system. Let's use a super simple example. A fast food joint. What's its objective? To serve you a meal fast. It takes in inputs, food, people, money. The transformation is the kitchen, cooking it all up. The output, your burger and fries. The control is the manager, checking to make sure the burger looks right. And the feedback, oh, that's huge. That's you leaving a review online that makes them change the secret sauce. See? Every system has these parts.
And all these systems, they share these fundamental traits. Globalism just means you have to look at the whole picture, right? You can't really understand the marketing team without talking to the sales team. That's interdependence. And every single company is constantly fighting entropy. That's the natural tendency for things to just fall apart. And they fight that chaos by using homeostasis to keep things in balance, all so they can stay focused on their main purpose.
All right, but here's the thing. No business exists in a vacuum. It lives and breathes in a bigger world. So next, let's talk about its environment and how it's constantly interacting with everything around it.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that a company's health is completely connected to what's happening around it. What goes on outside the company walls has a direct impact on what happens inside. No business is an island.
And that's what makes a company an open system. It's not a closed box. It's in this constant exchange, this kind of dance with the outside world. It pulls in resources, energy, and information. And in return, it pushes out products, services, and its own data, always trying to adapt to survive.
So what exactly is this environment? Well, it's everything. It's your customers, it's government regulators, it's your competitors trying to beat you. Just a single shift out here. A new law gets passed, a competitor launches a new product. That one thing can send shockwaves through the entire company, forcing it to adapt or, risk becoming obsolete.
Okay, so we've looked at the big picture and the world it lives in. Now, let's pop the hood and see what's actually going on inside. What are the organs that make this thing tick?
So inside the business, you can pretty much split everything into two big buckets. You can think of them as the end areas, the departments that focus on what the company does, and the means areas, which are all about how it actually gets done.
First up, you've got your end areas. Think of these as the departments on the front lines, the ones directly connected to the company's core mission. Marketing is out there figuring out what people want and how to get it to them. Production is in the back, actually making the thing. They are the whole reason the company exists in the first place.
So, if the end areas are the heart of the mission, what keeps them beating? Well, that's where the means areas come in. These are the vital support departments. It's HR finding the right people, it's finance managing the money. They're the essential circulatory system that nourishes that core mission and keeps the whole thing running.
Okay, so we have all these moving parts, all these departments, but what's actually steering the ship? What's the brain of the operation? Let's get right into the heart of it, decision-making.
Now, not all decisions are created equal. You've got your program decisions. These are the easy everyday ones, right? Like, hey, we're low on printer paper, let's order more. There's a rule for that. But then you have the non-programmed ones. These are the big, messy, keep you up at night decisions, like launching a brand new product line where there's no instruction manual.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because decisions don't just happen in a perfectly logical way. Sure, sometimes a decision is rational. It follows a neat, clean, step-by-step process. Other times it's procedural. You're just following the company handbook. But let's be real, sometimes things feel totally anarchic, almost random. And, of course, you have the political decisions, the ones that come out of power struggles and negotiations between different teams. We've all seen that happen, right?
All right, for our final piece of this puzzle, let's pull back one last time. Let's look at the one thing that connects everything we've talked about, the secret sauce that allows this living system to learn, adapt, and ultimately stay alive.
It all starts with information. You could say it's the lifeblood of the whole system. It begins as just raw data, sales figures, customer comments. Then the system processes that data into meaningful information, which then fuels decisions, which, of course, lead to actions.
But here's the magic trick, the most important part. The results of those actions don't just vanish into thin air. They circle back and become brand new information that gets fed right back into the system. And that right there, that is the feedback loop. It's the entire reason a system can learn and evolve.
Think about that. It is literally the nervous system of the business. This loop is how a company learns. It's how it knows if it's on the right track or if it needs to change course. A company without a healthy feedback loop, it's flying completely blind, unable to adapt, and honestly, probably destined to fail.
And that really brings us to the final big takeaway for you. When you start to see a company not as a machine, but as a living system, with its inputs, its environment, and these crucial feedback loops, you suddenly have this incredible new lens to see things through. It's like a diagnostic tool. You can start to see where the energy is flowing, where the blockages are, and what your organization truly needs to not just survive, but to thrive.